Hello, my name is Maxon, and I'm a 6th and 7th grade ELL teacher at Meredith Middle School for the Des Moines Public School District. Last fall, when I did my research, I taught 6th grade students in a pull-out classroom. The title of my research project was The Impact of Marzano's 6-Step Vocabulary Process on English Language Learners' Lexile Level. My problem that I looked at was determining the impact of teaching academic vocabulary using Marzano's 6-step vocabulary process and its effect on the Lexile reading level of middle school ELL students. Our district is using Robert Marzano's research for our professional development. When searching for a research topic, I discovered Marzano had done extensive research on academic vocabulary. As a new ELL teacher, I was interested in learning more about how to teach academic vocabulary in order to help our students acquire these words more efficiently. In all classes, students are immersed in academic vocabulary that may not be specifically taught. If students are unfamiliar with vocabulary, they will struggle with comprehending text. Thus, by teaching academic vocabulary using the Marzano 6-step process, I was hopeful that students' Lexile reading levels would increase. Lexile refers to a standard of measurement for reading comprehension. Marzano found in 2013 that direct vocabulary instruction increases reading comprehension by 12 percentile points. Marzano and those who have used his work found that comprehension increases when directly teaching academic vocabulary. I wanted to see if this process would work with my students. Several researchers consistently found that vocabulary knowledge is the greatest determining factor in reading comprehension. Researchers also recommend that teachers across content areas should enhance their teaching by using strategies to teach vocabulary instead of rote memorization. Seibold and Al-Harbi said research that recommended that teaching vocabulary learning strategies instead of specific vocabulary will help students become independent. Researchers also found that teaching vocabulary strategies were useful to ELL students. Siskel and Pedro in 2012. Marzano in 2001 and 2003 found that the number of vocabulary words students need to learn far outweighs the vocabulary that can be taught in the school day. Thus, in 2013, Marzano developed and tested his 6-step process, which proved to increase students' vocabulary knowledge 20 percentile points. This 6-step process is a series of strategies which Marzano used to teach the students on how to acquire new vocabulary knowledge. In past studies, researchers noted an increase in reading comprehension due to increase of vocabulary acquisition using the Marzano 6-step process. Watts in 2013 noted an increase in comprehension when using the 6-step process with students over a long period of time. Guilford and Gore in 2007 determined that implementation of Marzano's 6-step process into a middle school classroom will increase reading comprehension and standardized test scores. Guilford and Gore also determined that by teaching the Marzano 6-step process in multiple classrooms, also worked simultaneously in order to help students with reading comprehension. In my classroom, I used the 6-step process to improve reading comprehension for our ELL students. Marzano linked vocabulary instruction and practice with reading comprehension, and many researchers have used his process, resulting in improving reading comprehension. The purpose of the study was to utilize the 6-step process to increase vocabulary for middle school intermediate ELL students in my Midwestern classroom in order to determine the impact on reading comprehension. I predicted that by teaching students academic vocabulary using the 6-step process, students' reading Lexile scores would increase. This could have an impact on other classrooms by giving students a greater number of tools to learn new vocabulary. Additionally, it has provided the needed evidence for other teachers to incorporate direct academic vocabulary instruction in their classroom. And this also shows an increase in reading comprehension, which is good for ELL students across the board. For my study, I had 8 middle school intermediate ELL students who are my participants. My independent variable was the Marzano strategies to teach academic vocabulary, and my dependent variable was the student's lexile reading level. I used an A/B research design for this study, and I also used the reading program Achieve 3000 to collect data at the beginning of Phase A and at the end of Phase B. Achieve 3000 is a reading program that measures the students' reading lexile using comprehension questions after they're finished with the article reading. My multicultural intermediate ELL students are from an urban middle school that has 76% of the student population who qualified for free and reduced lunch, and my school also has 28% of the student population who receive ELL support. During Phase A of the study, which had a duration of 4 weeks, I taught content-specific vocabulary while utilizing vocabulary routines common to middle school ELL classrooms. Routines included elaboration, vocabulary study cards, vocabulary notebook, graphic organizers, and word sorts. During Phase B of the study, which was conducted over the course of 4 weeks, strategies from Marzano's 6-step vocabulary process were utilized to teach academic vocabulary. One of these strategies, the first strategy, is for the teacher to provide a description, an explanation, or an example of the new vocabulary word. Then the students are asked to restate the description, explanation, and give an example in their own words. Students then construct a picture or a symbol or a graphic representation of the word. Then they engage in cooperative learning activities to help them add to their knowledge, which was recorded in their vocabulary notebooks. The students were asked to discuss the terms with their peers, and lastly, students played with the vocabulary words utilizing Quizlet Live games, games online, and other interactive vocabulary games. We used Kahoot and some matching vocabulary games. As a final step of Phase B, the students' lexile again was assessed using Achieve 3000 as it was at the beginning of Phase A in order to record a lexile reading data point. It was hypothesized that academic vocabulary instruction using Marzano's 6-step vocabulary process would increase participants' lexile reading scores. The results showed that an overall improvement in reading lexile scores between Phase A and Phase B. You can see that by looking at the mean score. The lexile baseline score was 543.8. The after treatment score was 551.9. The range was 630 at the baseline, and the treatment was 670. The standard deviation was 217.9, and the after treatment was 221.1. The mean score is what is most valuable for the descriptive statistics in order to determine that my hypothesis was in fact confirmed, that the lexile reading scores did go up after the treatment phase. When looking at the paired sample t-test, we observed that there is not a statistically significant difference between Phase A and Phase B. This is the results from the paired sample t-test. We can see that the difference between the baseline and the treatment phase is negative 0.897, thus not being a statistically significant difference. The degrees of freedom is 7, the probability is 0.4, and the effect size is negative 0.317. The data that's used, the data confirmed that by using the 6-step process, the scores would increase. By sharing these results with other teachers who have ELL students, they can use their teaching in order to teach academic vocabulary using the Marzano strategies. This study connects well with past research on vocabulary acquisition and vocabulary's effect on reading comprehension. This study confirms that by improving vocabulary, students' reading comprehension will also improve. One of the biggest things I learned was that by empowering students to use new strategies to learn vocabulary allows them to become lifelong learners. This 6-step process also motivates them to learn new vocabulary on their own as well as within the classroom. And the Achieve 3000 gives them immediate feedback, and they appreciated the immediate comprehension feedback, and they appreciated seeing those scores go up based on the new vocabulary that they were acquiring. Other teachers will be able to use the results of this study to justify taking the needed time to teach academic vocabulary in the classroom, in classrooms with high volumes of ELL students. This study also gives clear strategies for classroom teachers to use in order to help students acquire vocabulary. Fortunately, there are limitations or weaknesses in this study. First of all, the sample size was only 6 students. It was only 8 students. Because of that, one student maybe not being on their best game that day is going to affect the sample, the results. The duration of the study was also quite short. It was only an 8-week study, and most studies that were done using the Marzano 6-step process were done over several years period of time. And so it would be interesting to see how the results would change if the study was carried out for a longer period of time. I also use 6th grade participants in a middle school where they come in as 6th graders. They're still learning many of the rules and how to be a 6th grader and how to be, an 11 and 12-year-old student. And so using 6th grade participants who were not used to the routines of using technology, using typing programs, reading online, and technology in general made it difficult for them to use Achieve 3000. So, and the last is student motivation. Coming into my classroom, in learning academic vocabulary, we can do many things to engage students, but we don't have control over what happened at home. We don't have control over whether they had breakfast or if they slept well the night before, or what emotional things they're dealing with that day. And so sometimes students come in, and when if they had a bad night the night before that they did Achieve 3000, unfortunately that is going to impact their their lexile level if they weren't giving their best that day for whatever reason. For future research, first of all, in order to get more valid results, future researchers could use a larger sample size over a longer period of time. Additionally, beginning the study in the middle of the year will provide opportunities for 6th grade students to learn the routines needed for participating in this study. More research needs to be done in general academic classrooms in which ELL students participate. In my ELL sheltered instruction classroom, these strategies were effective. Future research should include general education classrooms, not just a pull-out ELL classroom with 8 students in it. This research needs to be shared with the general education staff so that they can use these strategies to help ELL students better understand their reading and the content more clearly. The Marzano 6-step process isn't just for ELL students, but for also general academic teachers. And if we could have the general academic teachers teach academic vocabulary using the strategies, this will benefit our ELL students as well as the general education students, the native speakers. These are the references that I used in this presentation. I enjoyed this research process, and I look forward to learning about all the research that my classmates have done. Thank you.